Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nauri. In today's bulletin, we will get you detailed news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Biden pledges US will work with Southeast Asian nations. US, Japan, South Korea vow unified response to North Korea threat. Biden tightens methane emissions rule amid push for more oil. Democrats keep Senate majority as GOP push falters in Nevada. Democratic wins in Washington state buoy party hopes. Biden pleased with election turnout. State Supreme Court wins shaped by abortion redistricting. Six killed after vintage aircraft collide at Dallas Air Show. Unmanned solar-powered US space plane back after 908 days. Ukraine war tensions with China loom over big Bali summit. South Korea, Japan seek better ties amid North Korea missile tensions. After Kherson success, Kiev vows to keep driving out Russia. The terminal, exiled man stuck in airport for years, dies. Bomb rocks avenue in heart of Istanbul, 6 dead, dozens hurt. Brady Bucks beat Seahawks 21-16 in historic Germany game. And Pereira upsets Adesanya, wins UFC middleweight title at MSG. Now news in detail. President Joe Biden promised Saturday that the United States would work with a strategically vital coalition of Southeast Asian nations, telling leaders that we are going to build a better future that we all want to see in the region where US rival China is also working to expand its influence. Citing the 3 Association of Southeast Asian Nations summits he has participated in as president, Biden said the 10-country bloc is at the heart of my administration's Indo-Pacific strategy and promised to collaborate to build a region that is free and open, stable and prosperous, resilient and secure. I look forward to continuing our work together with ASEAN and with each one of you to deepen peace and prosperity throughout the region, to resolve challenges from the South China Sea to Myanmar and to find innovative solutions to shared challenges, Biden said, citing climate and health security among areas of collaboration. Biden's efforts at this year's ASEAN summit are meant to lay the groundwork for his highly anticipated meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, the first face-to-face encounter of Biden's presidency with a leader whose nation the US now considers its most potent economic and military rival. Biden and Xi will meet on Monday at the Group of 20 summit that brings together leaders from the world's largest economies, which is held this year in Indonesia on the island of Bali. President Joe Biden and the leaders of Japan and South Korea on Sunday vowed a unified, coordinated response to North Korea's threatening nuclear and ballistic missile programs, with Biden declaring that the three-way partnership is even more important than it's ever been when North Korea is stepping up its provocations. Biden met separately with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol before all three sat down together on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit in Cambodia. The US President began by offering condolences for a crowd surge during Halloween festivities in Seoul that killed more than 150 people, saying the US had grieved with South Korea. The meeting was heavily focused on North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's recent escalations, although Biden said the three leaders would also discuss strengthening supply chains and preserving peace across the Taiwan Strait, while building on the country's support for Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. Biden had also planned to seek input from Kishida and Yoon on managing China's assertive posture in the Pacific region on the eve of his face-to-face with President Xi Jinping. The Biden administration on Friday ramped up efforts to reduce methane emissions, targeting the oil and gas industry for its role in global warming, even as President Joe Biden has pressed energy producers for more oil drillings to lower prices at the gasoline pump. Biden announced a supplemental rule cracking down on emissions of methane, a potent greenhouse gas that contributes significantly to global warming and packs a stronger short-term punch than even carbon dioxide, as he attended a global climate conference in Egypt. "We are racing forward to do our part to avert the climate hell," the UN Secretary General so passionately warned about, Biden said, referring to comments this week by United Nations leader Antonio Guterres. The new methane rule will help ensure that the United States meets a goal set by more than 100 nations to cut methane emissions by 30% by 2030 from 2020 levels, Biden said. Democrats kept control of the Senate on Saturday, repelling Republican efforts to retake the chamber and making it harder for them to thwart President Joe Biden's agenda. The fate of the House was still uncertain as the GOP struggled to pull together a slim majority there. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto's victory in Nevada gave Democrats the 50 seats they needed to keep the Senate. Her win reflects the surprising strength of Democrats across the U.S. this election year. Seeking re-election in any economically challenged state that has some of the highest gas prices in the nation, Cortez Masto was considered the Senate's most vulnerable member, adding to the frustration of Republicans who were confident she could be defeated. "We got a lot done and we will do a lot more for the American people," Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Saturday night. The American people soundly rejected the anti-democratic, authoritarian, nasty and divisive direction the MAGA Republicans wanted to take our country. With the results in Nevada now decided, Georgia is the only state where both parties are still competing for a Senate seat. Democratic incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock faces GOP challenger Herschel Walker in a December 6 runoff. Alaska's Senate race has advanced to ranked choice voting, though the seat will stay in Republican hands. Democratic control of the Senate ensures a smoother process for Biden's cabinet appointments and judicial picks, including those for potential Supreme Court openings. The party will also keep control over committees and have the power to conduct investigations or oversight of the Biden administration, and will be able to reject legislation sent over by the House if the GOP wins that chamber. Democrats own a second key House race in Washington state Saturday, an open seat in a conservative region that long evaded the party. Mary Gluesenkamp-Perrich, an auto shop owner who describes herself as an independent-minded Democrat, pulled off a victory against Joe Kent, a far-right America First ex-Green Beret who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump in southwest Washington's 3rd Congressional District. Combined with Representative Kim Schreier's re-election to what Democrats feared was a vulnerable seat, Gluesenkamp-Perrich's victory helped buoy party hopes of keeping a majority in the House. "I am humbled and honored by the vote of confidence the people of Southwest Washington have put in me and my campaign," Gluesenkamp-Perrich said in a statement. The 3rd district, which narrowly voted for Trump in 2020, had been represented for more than a decade by Republican Representative Jamie Herrera Butler. But she failed to make it through the state's top 2 primary after angering conservatives with her vote to impeach Trump following the attack on the U.S. Capitol by his supporters. US President Joe Biden said he was incredibly pleased with the turnout in the US election, as the Democrats looked on course to keep control of the Senate next year after the party's candidate won re-election in Nevada. Speaking to reporters in Cambodia ahead of an East Asia summit, Biden said the turnout was a reflection of the quality of candidates his party was fielding after Senator Catherine Cortez Masto won re-election in Nevada, narrowly beating Republican challenger Adam Laxalt. A Democratic victory in Georgia next month would then give the party outright majority control of a 51-49 Senate, while a Georgia defeat would still put Democrats in charge of a 50-50 Senate, with Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris able to break tie wars. Republicans have claimed key victories in state Supreme Court races that will give them an advantage in major redistricting fights, while Democrats notched similarly significant wins with help from groups focused on defending abortion access. The expensive fights over court control in several states in Tuesday's election highlight just how partisan the formerly low-key judicial races have become. Observers say they are a sign of what to expect as legal battles over abortion, voting rights and other issues are being fought at the state level. About $97 million was spent on state Supreme Court elections during the 2019-2020 election cycle, according to the Brennan Center. Once this year's numbers are tallied, spending records are expected to be shattered in some of the 25 states that had races targeted by groups on the right and the left. One of the biggest players was the Republican State Leadership Committee, which focused heavily on the court races in North Carolina and Ohio. 6 people were killed after 2 historic military planes collided and crashed to the ground Saturday afternoon during a Dallas air show, officials said. According to a Dallas County Medical Examiner, there are a total of 6 fatalities from yesterday's wings over Dallas air show incident, Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins tweeted Sunday. He said authorities are continuing to work to identify the victims. Emergency crews raced to the crash scene at the Dallas Executive Airport, about 10 miles from the city's downtown. News footage from the scene showed crumpled wreckage of the planes in a grassy area inside the airport perimeter. Dallas Fire Rescue told the Dallas Morning News that there were no reported injuries among people on the ground. Officials did not specify how many people were inside each plane, but Hank Coates, president of the company that put on the air show, said one of the planes, a B-17 Flying Fortress bomber, typically has a crew of 4 to 5 people. The other, a P-63 King Cobra fighter plane, has a single pilot. An unmanned US military space plane landed early Saturday after spending a record 908 days in orbit for its 6th mission and conducting science experiments. The solar-powered vehicle, which looks like a miniature space shuttle, landed at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Its previous mission lasted 780 days. Since the X-37B's first launch in 2010, it has shattered records and provided our nation with an unrivaled capability to rapidly test and integrate new space technologies, said Jim Chilton, a senior vice president for Boeing, its developer. For the first time, the space plane hosted a service module that carried experiments for the Naval Research Laboratory, US Air Force Academy, and others. The module separated from the vehicle before deorbiting to ensure a safe landing. Among the experiments was a satellite dubbed the FalconSat 8 that was designed and built by academic cadets in partnership with the Air Force Research Laboratory. It was deployed in October 2021 and still remains in orbit. Another experiment evaluated the effects of long-duration space exposure on seeds. It's time for global updates. A showdown between President Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin isn't happening, but the fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine and growing tensions between China and the West will be at the fore when leaders of the world's biggest economies gather in tropical Bali this week. The group of 20 members begin talks on the Indonesian resort island Tuesday under the hopeful theme of Recover Together, Recover Stronger. While Putin is staying away, Biden will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping and get to know new British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Italy's Giorgia Meloni. The summit's official priorities of health, sustainable energy and digital transformation are likely to be overshadowed by fears of a sputtering global economy and geopolitical tensions centered on the war in Ukraine. The nearly 9-month-old conflict has disrupted trade in oil, natural gas, and grain, and shifted much of the summit's focus to food and energy security. The US and allies in Europe and Asia, meanwhile, increasingly are squaring off against a more assertive China, leaving emerging G20 economies like India, Brazil, and host Indonesia to walk a tightrope between bigger powers. The leaders of South Korea and Japan agreed Sunday to keep up efforts to resolve their thorny historical disputes as they are pushing to bolster security cooperation with the United States to better deal with North Korea's nuclear threats. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida met twice on the sidelines of a regional gathering in Cambodia, with US President Joe Biden and then bilaterally. After the bilateral meeting, Kishida told reporters that he and Yoon reaffirmed their earlier agreement to work toward quickly resolving the issue of Japan's wartime mobilization of Korean laborers during its 1910-45 colonial rule of the Korean Peninsula. Yoon's office said in a statement the two leaders assessed that there have been active communications between their diplomats on a current issue between the two countries, in an apparent reference to the forced laborers. The statement said the two leaders agreed to continue consultations to find an early resolution on the issue. Ukraine's president vowed to keep pushing Russian forces out of his country after they withdrew from Kherson, leaving behind devastation, hunger, and booby traps in the southern Ukrainian city. The Russian retreat from Kherson marked a triumphant milestone in Ukraine's pushback against Moscow's invasion almost 9 months ago. Kherson residents hugged and kissed the arriving Ukrainian troops in rapturous scenes. We will see many more such greetings of Ukrainian soldiers liberating Russian-held territory, President Vladimir Zelensky said in his nightly video address Saturday. He pledged to the people in Ukrainian cities and villages that are still under occupation. We don't forget anyone, we won't leave anyone. Ukraine's retaking of Kherson was a significant setback for the Kremlin and the latest in a series of battlefield embarrassments. It came some 6 weeks after Russian President Vladimir Putin annexed the Kherson region and 3 other provinces in southern and eastern Ukraine in breach of international law and declared them Russian territory. An Iranian who got stuck for 18 years in a Paris airport, inspiring a Steven Spielberg movie starring Tom Hanks, died yesterday at the terminal, an airport official said. Mehran Karimi Nasseri died of natural causes just before midday in Terminal 2F at Charles de Gaulle Airport outside the French capital, the official told AFP. Caught originally in an immigration trap, unable to enter France and with nowhere to go, he became dependent on his unusual place of abode and increasingly a national and international cause celebre. He called himself Sir Alfred, and a small section of airport parquet and plastic bench became his domain. Karimi Nasseri's peculiar story came to the attention of Hollywood director Spielberg, inspiring 2004 film The Terminal, which starred Hanks and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Hanks played a man who becomes trapped at New York's JFK airport when his home country collapses into revolution. After spending most of the money he received for the film, Karimi Nasseri returned to the airport a few weeks ago, the official said. Several thousand euros were found on him. Born in 1945 in Masjid Suleiman, in the Iranian province of Khuzestan, Karimi Nasseri took up residence in the airport in November 1988 after flying from Iran to London, Berlin and Amsterdam in an effort to locate his mother. He had been expelled from every other country he landed in because he was unable to produce the correct paperwork. At Roissy Charles de Gaulle Airport, an informal support network grew up around him, providing food and medical help along with books and radio. In 1999, he was granted refugee status and the right to remain in France. An explosion on one of Istanbul's most popular pedestrian thoroughfares killed 4 people and injured 38 on Sunday, authorities said. The cause of the blast on Istiklal Avenue was not immediately clear. 5 prosecutors were assigned to investigate the explosion, state-run Anadolu News Agency said. A video posted online showed flames erupting and a loud bang as pedestrians turned and ran away. Other footage showed ambulances, fire trucks, and police at the scene. Social media users said shops were shuttered and the avenue closed down. Turkish media watchdog imposed a temporary ban on reporting on the explosion, a move that prevents broadcasters from showing videos of the moment of the blast or its aftermath. The Supreme Council of Radio and Television has imposed similar bans in the past, following attacks and accidents. Istanbul Governor Ali Yerlikaya tweeted the death toll and said those hurt were being treated. Now it's time for business news. New York stock close price is 15,352.69. The NYSE Composite is increased by 117.97 points or 0.77%. Tokyo stock close price is 28,263.57. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 817.47 points or 2.98%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,087.2926. The Shanghai Composite Index is increased by 51.16 points or 1.69%. Hong Kong stock close price is 17,325.66. The Hang Seng Index is increased by 1,244.62 points or 7.74%. Bombay stock close price is 61,795.04. The Sensex Index is increased by 1,181.34 points or 1.95%. Now a look of today's sports stories. Tom Brady stayed undefeated abroad by throwing 2 touchdown passes to help the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Seattle Seahawks 21-16 on Sunday in the first regular season game played in Germany. Brady connected with Julio Jones and Chris Godwin on scoring passes, and Leonard Fournette ran one in as the Bucs improved to .500 and snapped Seattle's 4-game winning streak. German fans packed Allianz Arena for the historic game, and the Bucs delivered with a balanced offensive performance on 3 long scoring drives. Rashad White started and ran for 105 yards on 22 carries. Brady completed 22 of 29 passes for 258 yards to add Germany to his list of international wins after victories in London and Mexico City with the New England Patriots. Alex Pereira has Israel Adesanya's number in any combat sport, make it 3-0, and now the Brazilian knockout artist also has his rival's UFC middleweight championship. Pereira fought back out from a slow start and rocked Adesanya in the 5th round to score the TKO win and claim the 185-pound championship in the main event of UFC 281 on Saturday night at Madison Square Garden. The 35-year-old Pereira defeated Adesanya twice, once by knockout in their old kickboxing days, and the wins got the challenger fast-tracked to a title match after just 3 UFC fights. Let's have a look on today's weather chart. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jadoo TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.